Imagine Earth as a vast, twisted hunting ground where aliens prowl and humans are nothing more than prey. They've taken our cities, our lives, and everything we held dear, leaving the survivors to scurry beneath the ruins like rats, hiding in sewers and abandoned tunnels. In a world like this, going to the surface isn't just dangerous, it's a death sentence. If you're new here, subscribe for more stories of terror and survival, and hit the bell icon to join our growing community of horror enthusiasts. My name's Seth. I don't know why I'm still alive, to be honest. Every time I go up to the surface, I wonder if I'll come back. But I don't have a choice. For those of us left hiding in the sewer systems, survival is a delicate balance, a balancing act between courage and fear. We humans used to think we were so invincible, so superior. But when the aliens came, they stripped us of our pride, our civilization. They showed us how small we really are. They didn't just conquer. They turned us into their sport, their entertainment. And the things they do to those they capture is a fate worse than death. Down here in the sewers, where the darkness stretches on forever and the stench is thick enough to choke on, there's no day or night. Just the endless echo of dripping water and the occasional whispered conversation, broken and brittle. It's almost like being buried alive. But the time had come again. I couldn't ignore the gnawing ache in my stomach anymore. We were running low on supplies, and staying underground without food is its own slow death. So, once again, I found myself climbing the creaky metal ladder to the surface, feeling my pulse quicken as I neared the edge of the hatch. When I finally pushed open the hatch, I found myself staring into the gray, dim sky, with heavy clouds smothering what was left of the sunlight. The once vibrant city was a smoldering wasteland, broken and desolate. Skyscrapers jutted out at sharp angles, their metal skeletons twisted and crumbling like the remains of some forgotten giant. Alien ships hovered ominously above, casting long shadows that swept across the empty streets. The silence was oppressive. Gone were the sounds of traffic, the laughter, the hum of life. Now, every creak, every gust of wind against the broken windows was a reminder that we no longer owned this place. Moving quickly, I kept close to the walls, ducking behind what remained of the crumbling buildings. This part of the city was empty now, abandoned by both humans and aliens, but that didn't make it any safer. I knew that at any moment one of those towering ships could descend, or worse, a ground patrol could sweep through. But it wasn't until I saw the shadow that I felt true fear. It began as a faint movement out of the corner of my eye. Just a wisp of something slipping through the broken buildings, too quick to be human, and too controlled to be an accident. I stopped, pressing myself against the rough concrete wall, straining my ears. I could feel it, the heavy, silent presence of something watching me, something calculating and patient. I turned around slowly, peering into the twisted maze of debris, but there was nothing there. Just empty, silent streets and the occasional, distant scream carried by the wind. Maybe it was just nerves, I told myself, but as I moved on, the feeling didn't go away. I felt it follow me, a dark shape trailing my every step, always hovering just out of reach, just at the edge of my vision. Then came the sound, a low, almost amused purring noise, vibrating through the air like a predator's call. My heart pounded as I quickened my pace, moving from one piece of cover to the next, trying to shake whatever was following me. But it was relentless, that shadowy shape never faltering, never falling too far behind. "Stay calm, Seth," I whispered to myself, though I could feel the fear growing, knotting in my stomach like a sickness. But I was lying to myself. I knew this was no ordinary alien patrol. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I knew better. Running made you an easy target. Instead, I moved carefully, squeezing through tight gaps, sliding under collapsed beams, hoping to throw it off. But each time, I'd glance over my shoulder and see it, always there, always watching. I felt like a mouse in a cat's claws, struggling in vain as it toyed with me. Each moment that passed only sharpened my fear, the dread settling deeper into my bones. Eventually, I found myself backed into a narrow alleyway, boxed in by a wall of rubble. My only way out was a doorway into a half-collapsed building. Heart racing, I slipped inside, ducking behind an overturned desk and pressing myself into the shadows. Silence. The kind of silence that felt alive, thrumming with tension. I held my breath, willing myself to become invisible. But then, that awful purring sound filled the air again. Louder this time, richer, like the thing was savoring the taste of my fear. My breath caught as I realized it was in the room with me. Just beyond the desk, I could see a shadow stretching, bending, growing larger as it approached. Slowly, it rounded the corner. And there it was. The creature was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Its body was sleek and almost fluid, covered in a dark, chameleon-like skin that seemed to shift colors as it moved, blending into the shadows. But its face was a nightmare brought to life. Its eyes were deep, liquid pools of darkness, and its mouth, stretched into a wide, unnatural grin, was filled with rows of needle-sharp teeth. I stared, paralyzed, feeling the raw terror clawing up my throat. "Hello, Seth," it murmured, the voice low and chillingly human. How it knew my name, I had no idea, but the sound of it sent a jolt of panic through me. The creature's grin widened as it studied me, eyes narrowing with an unsettling curiosity. It leaned forward, just close enough that I could feel its cold breath on my skin. "You're one of the clever ones, aren't you?" It purred, the voice sliding through the room like smoke. "Running, hiding, pretending that will save you." My mouth opened, but no sound came out. I wanted to scream, to fight, but every muscle in my body was frozen in place. All I could do was stare as the alien circled me, its movements slow and calculated, savoring the moment. "Do you know how many humans I've hunted, Seth?" It whispered, leaning close enough that I could see the small, pulsating veins under its skin. "How many of you scramble, run, fight back? It's adorable, really." It tilted its head, as though pondering something, and then its grin widened even further. "But you're special. I think I'll remember you." I didn't know what possessed me, but somehow, I managed to break through the terror just enough to stumble backward, my hand closing around a sharp piece of rubble. With a desperate shout, I swung it at the creature. It was like hitting steel. The piece of concrete crumbled in my hand, barely making a scratch on its skin. The alien's eyes sparkled with amusement as it watched me, almost as if it had expected me to try. "That's the spirit?" It chuckled, its laughter low and mocking. "You humans, so predictable, so fragile." It moved closer, its face mere inches from mine, and whispered softly, "I could end you in an instant, Seth, tear you apart, leave you in pieces for the others to find." I could barely breathe, the cold sweat soaking through my clothes as I braced myself for the inevitable. But then, just as quickly as the threat had come, the alien's expression shifted. It straightened up, brushing the dust off its hands like it had merely been playing a harmless game. "This was fun," it murmured, its voice almost warm. "I think I'll let you go, this time." It took a step back, its dark eyes glinting with that same twisted amusement. "Go on. Tell your little friends what you saw. Tell them that I'll be waiting. And the next time we meet, well..." It grinned, flashing those rows of glistening teeth. "Maybe I'll be hungry." And with that, it vanished into the shadows, slipping away as if it had never been there. I stood there, shaking, my mind reeling, barely able to comprehend what had just happened. I made it back to the underground that night, but something had changed. The fear, the horror of that encounter, it left a mark. Every time I close my eyes, I see that grin, hear that voice. The alien let me go, but I knew it was only to savor the next encounter, to toy with me, to remind me of the terrible truth. Earth is no longer ours. We're just prey, playing the parts they allow us to in their twisted game. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because on this channel, there are always more terrors lurking in the shadows.